Thank you all for joining today. And today I do have the pleasure of really introducing a dear friend of mine who I have gone to cheer on for I'm going to say for one of his, twice I think I've gone for Ironman competitions that he's raced in Arizona. But before that, I just want to share a little bit about him. The first time I met him, what I always do is I Google people before I meet them. I want to know who I'm meeting. And he was introduced to me by another friend. We were going to go for coffee, and I went and found his picture online, and I saw um, just a face, but it was definitely a more full face. He looked like he was my weight. And I didn't see him at the coffee shop. It was a much skinnier version. And part of what he's going to talk about today is really that transformation in his life. And so I want to just share a little bit about Stu Schulman. He's from Pennsylvania. He has ran and completed 4 IronMan Triathlon competitions. He's also a marathoner. He's a nutrition enthusiast. He and his wife have 2 beautiful daughters, and they are both excelling in their studies. One is in college, the other one's in high school. And so today, really what he's going to talk about is this conversation that he had, and the people had told him that anything he wanted to do athletically were impossible or unrealistic, and clearly he has shown they are wrong. But really, when you're told that, it changes your life in a detrimental way, and that's what he'll talk about, and what changed in his life, and something that we can all take for ourselves as well. It says, those who are learned are those who learn from others. So today we're going to be able to listen to Stu and share his story and inspire us. So thank you very much, Stu. And I'm going to give you the floor.
Thanks, Levy. And hello, everybody. First of all, I have to say, first of all, a thumbs up if you can hear me okay. All right, that's great. Thank you. First of all, it's a pleasure to be in front of you all. I'm honored to speak today. And Levy, thanks for the warm introduction. Levy and I have become very close friends over the years. So it's a real honor for a friend. When a friend invites you even further into a circle, it's a real honor. So thank you. First of all, there's a lot of weather discussion going on, and you're not going to get a lot of sympathy from me. While I have lived in Arizona for the better part of 5 years, I currently live in Minnesota. So I tell you what, all the snow you're getting back east, or if you're in Flagstaff or something like that, you could also live in -20. I'm just going to say it. Anyway, it's a real pleasure. No matter what the weather is like for you outside, I hope this conversation today finds you in a good place, in a safe place, and hopefully for some good conversation.
Where do you live in Minnesota?
I live in the Twin Cities area. So if you're familiar with Lake Minnetonka, if you're familiar with the Twin Cities, you might know of Minnetonka moccasins, Tonka trucks.
I know it. My daughter lives in Stillwater, but she's here now.
Then there you go. So yeah, I'm in the western suburbs of the Twin Cities now. Work brought me, as Levy alluded to, I lived in Philadelphia. I was raised in Philadelphia, and work ultimately brought me to Arizona and then to the Twin Cities. So that's where I call from today. I actually just got back yesterday from about a month in Flagstaff, where I spent the better part of a month. So, my story, as I share it, is the reason I think it's a powerful one and that I'm excited to share with people is because it's not necessarily heroic. It's not supernatural. It's not one of extreme talent. I will tell you right now, I'm not going to wow you with, I was the best person at this thing, and then here was the triumph that I ultimately made. That's not my story. My story is one that I think connects with a lot of people, and that is, if you are any way normal, if you're just a human being with real feelings and real emotion, and you've ever been told why you cannot do something, my story will resonate with you. If you are not one of those people, you might know someone. And I ask that as we discuss today, the kind of a little bit of my story, and I share my story, that you think about, if it's not you, who in your life might benefit from hearing something like this. I'm happy to connect with others. But my story is one that is really one of being a human being and not sure where to go with things. And then ultimately doing things that I decided to do. It was a Stu decision. It was not someone else's decision for me. And in Levy's introduction, he shared, I was raised in the city of Philadelphia, a great city if you've ever spent time there. To paint the picture, I was definitely part of Generation X. I'm currently 46 years old, if you're wondering how old I am. So in the 80s, when I went to elementary school, I was one of the latchkey kids. I was wearing the key around my neck and finding my way kind of into the house during the day. Mom and dad both worked full time. I lived in the city. I lived in a row home where I sat on the front stoop. I talked to my neighbors. I had an alleyway, we called it the driveway. And I had a playground that when you went to it, you either got in a fight or you learned how to navigate or you found your friends. And that was kind of my area, a little bit rough and tough, not overly rough and tough. I'm not trying to paint that picture. But my point is I grew up in an era, my experience was one where I had to learn a lot about life without always the day-to-day kind of coaching from mom and dad. When my own kids now, they get a lot of coaching from mom and dad. I'm Generation X, that we were latchkeys and we figured it out. We were home at 6 o'clock and that kind of thing. What's interesting is at that age, I very quickly found food as a resource for comfort, food as a resource for joy, for pain. It became my everything. And I, like any 9-year-old in the city of Philadelphia, I wanted to be Mike Schmidt. I wanted to be Dr. J. And I also believed wholeheartedly that I was going to be an athlete, that I was going to be a professional athlete. And by the time I was about 9 years old, I was 140 pounds. Nowadays, you might say, he's a healthy looking kid. In those days, I was pudgy. By the time I became a bar mitzvah, I was immediately escorted to the Husky section. Does everyone remember the Husky section of clothing stores? Nowadays, you'd be, I'm joking, of course, but you'd be arrested. How dare you label someone Husky? I walked in and it was like, oh, let's bring this kid right to the Husky section. That was who Stu was. I had such a passion for sports and doing new things, but I was labeled at that young age that I was heavy, slow. I was carrying a lot of extra weight. I was unathletic. And when it was decided kind of for me, and I listened very well, that I was going to have some limitations. And those limitations to a 9-year-old boy meant I was not going to be the athlete that I thought I could be or would be. Now that came with a very, with some big downside to that. I learned very quickly the art of believing in what other people thought of me. And that's not because I was taught any different. I have such wonderful parents, by the way. And so let's just get that one off the table. It wasn't my parents' upbringing, but it was just one where we grew up in an environment where once you were labeled, that was kind of it. And unless you had some sort of coaching, some sort of someone to help turn things around, it was very easy to fall into the label of, in my case, unathletic. At that time of my life, like I said, I was becoming a bar mitzvah. Now I'm 13. And even my rabbi at the time, I will share with you, did not help me, labeled me a bit. I questioned some things about my Torah portion and my bar mitzvah. And even my rabbi, I found, was kind of leading me into a place that was not very productive for a young man growing up. It set limiting beliefs about me and the way I think. He told my parents actually that I needed some psychological counseling because I asked specific questions about my Torah portion. And my journey in those years was one of, gosh, people are telling me I can't be this. I can't do these athletic endeavors. My rabbi is telling me I need psychological evaluations because I'm questioning some things about my Torah portion. What else can't I do? And that was a lot of the baggage that I held. And I don't think it's unique to me, as I said earlier. I think this is what a lot of people go through, and everyone has their own version of maybe Stu's story. Here's why you can't do things. Here's why you'll hurt yourself if you get into something. But what's interesting is, as a teenager, I believed in my belly, in my soul, there was a spark. And it was incumbent upon me to, I don't know, to reignite that spark and turn it into a blaze, into a fire. Because that fire was there when I was 9 years old and younger. But there was something that was just, I was tired of the wet blanket. And I was tired of being told why I couldn't do certain things. The words I heard were, Stuart, concentrate on making money. That's where your skill set is. Stuart, you're such a good boy. Why don't you go do X, Y, or Z? Just do those things. Stop trying to be someone who you're not. But what other people thought I was not was actually who I wanted to be. It's who I knew I was. And so I went to a small college. If you're familiar, if you're from the East Coast, you might know a small state school. It's a teacher's college called Westchester University. And that's where I went to college. And even there, when I went to college, I was immediately labeled as, Stuart, your mom's a teacher, you should become a teacher. And that's just what you should do. This is your role in life. And that's what I did. But there was a moment, and I think there's two very defining moments in my life that I'd like to share with you. One was in college. I went 4 years in college. I became an elementary school teacher, and I was really good at it. And I also knew it's not what I wanted to do. Imagine my parents. Imagine hearing I graduated, I have my degree in hand, and I said, Mom, Dad, I don't want to do this. And so I did what every good Jewish boy does at that age with a college degree. I put a business plan together and I bought a bar. I'll say it again. I literally put aside my teaching degree and I took a risk. I thought to myself, wait a second. Why is life continuing to frustrate me? Why is it that if I have a business acumen to me, why can't I feed that? Why do I have to accept the role, the kind of the role in life, if you will, that's been presented to me? And it's the first time I realized if I unthinking is a big word in my household. If I unthought the rules, what could happen? What's the worst that happens? And so the story is true. I put a business plan together. I didn't know what a business plan was at the time, but I convinced a loan officer at PNC Bank on the East Coast to give a 23-year-old Stu Schulman a loan. He gave me a loan to buy a bar. And it was the first time I realized, well, wait a second. The rules as written don't have to apply. Not if I don't want it to apply to Stu. I get a say in my life. And I think that's one of the things I'll ask you to think about is, have there been times in your lives or I don't care if it's your grandkids, your kids, has there been a time where you've struggled with those feelings of, I get to have a say on how this turns out, right? It doesn't all have to be predefined for me. So this isn't a story about how to buy a bar. So I'll cut to the punchline there. I bought the bar and it was a wonderful life. 5 years, a lot of stress I learned, but a bar that flourished. I sold it for a nice profit at the age of 28 years old. And I realized, gosh, wait a second. If you believe in yourself and you ignite that little spark, that little business mind in Stu existed. And if I just lit it on fire, I found the right fuel to set it ablaze, great things could happen. Now you can imagine at this time of my life, I'm 28, I'm married, I have a beautiful wife, her name is Danya. At that age, I now have a beautiful young daughter, Julia, and one that I would meet in a couple years. Her name is Lauren, who is now 16 and a half years old. So I have 2 daughters and a wife. And my wife, Danya, was, we were married now for about 3 years, and she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Now, this is kind of point number 2 in my life, kind of this decision moment, right? These moments in your life. I had just come across, I took a huge risk. I bought a business. It was successful. I sold it. I was now in this new world of pharmaceuticals. So my career was growing. And yes, if you're thinking, wait, he went from a teacher to a bar to pharmaceuticals. Yes, it's true. Teaching drove me to sell alcohol, which drove me to sell drugs. Yes, I did those things. And I was developing a career in the pharmaceutical business. And my wife was diagnosed with something that, if you've had any interaction with any kind of autoimmune disease, you wouldn't wish it upon your worst enemy. These are horrible, horrible things to be diagnosed with. And a very interesting thing happened. You know, I had developed a life that was full of pain. I was still harboring a lot of the emotion I felt as a kid. I was heavy, and I was still heavy. I was at that age, 28 years old. I bet you I was 270, 280 pounds. You know, I had lived the life of a bar owner. I was not smoking, but I was secondhand smoking. In those days, you'd go out of business if you did not allow smoking in your bar. I was unhealthy. I was carrying kegs of beer and cases of beer. And I have to this day, 2 herniated discs in my back. I have bad knees. I have every reason that I could give you. I could list many reasons why I could not be healthy. I was built this way. I'm a big guy. People called me Big Stu. I had every reason to tell you why I can't run, why I can't ride a bicycle, why I can't do these things that I thought were very realistic as a kid. And I had really good excuses for that. But it was my wife's diagnosis that was that was kind of my second turning point. So the first one was, I just made a rule change in Stu's life. I'm going to go into business and I'm just going to do it. And the second was understanding that as my wife was going through this horrible diagnosis, that I observed something. I observed someone who had real excuses. I didn't have excuses. My excuses were self-inflicted. I ate horribly, I gained weight. With weight gain came horrible knees, herniated discs in my back, shots in my back. Yes, I've got many. In those days, I was getting a shot in my back every few months to alleviate the pain, debilitating pain. But my wife, who was recently diagnosed, what was she doing? She was eating healthy. She was going to the gym every day, still to this day, by the way. She was taking care of herself. And it was something I realized. She had all the cards stacked against her, yet she was defining her path. She was deciding how she was going to navigate. And there was this moment in my life, as I spoke with my doctor, I was getting shots on my back, as I said, I was getting prescribed more muscle relaxers, more pain medications. And I was not an addict or anything like that. This is not a story of addiction. This is a story of the narrative of my life was Stu needed help and I had no control. And it was time that I changed that narrative. People kept telling me what I could and couldn't do. Yet I was observing someone who had every label, my wife, with multiple sclerosis. That was her label. Here's what she could now not do for the rest of her life. And she was writing her own rules. And I thought, well, wait a second. I already did this once in my life. I bought the bar. I went into business. I completely changed the trajectory of my career. Why can't I apply this to the very things that keep me motivated and that make me excited about the everyday in life? And so I used my wife, and still do to this day, as my inspiration. This 270, 280 pound guy didn't know where the heck to start. But I did know I could raise money. I did know that I could get involved. And what started as a mission to create awareness for things like multiple sclerosis and other autoimmune diseases turned into a beast, a really good beast, a good one, that to this day thinks about the things that I will do versus what I can and can't do. Stu's mind turned around that diagnosis time point. I signed up for a 50-mile walk. At those days, again, 280 pounds. What did I know about even walking that long, let alone running? So I signed up for a 50-mile walk, and it was step by step, pain in my back and the sweating. And you can envision me, big sweaty Stu in Philly, walking through these parks in Fairmount Park and doing all these things, just trying to take the next right step. And I noticed something happen. That little spark that lived in Stu was starting to become a flame. It was no longer a spark. And I walked those 50 miles. And I don't know that I've ever been more proud to have accomplished something, not only to raise awareness for multiple sclerosis and support my wife, but because for the first time in my life, I felt like I was achieving something, not because I was told to do it, not because someone else wrote that rule for me, but is because it was something I decided to do. Again, I had every reason not to sign up for that walk. I have bad back. I have bad knees. But for the first time, I felt empowered. I felt like I had control. Well, I'll cut to the punchline as Levi introduced me today and the Ironman story. We moved out to Phoenix in the year 2010. By then, I had lost a significant amount of weight. And I went from walking to long bike rides. I discovered the bicycle. And it was on a vacation, actually out in California, where I said to my wife, well, gosh, I'm doing a lot of walking. I'm now traveling a lot for a living in pharmaceuticals. My career started traveling, right? And I started being on airplanes. And I thought, well, gosh, I wonder if I could run a mile. And I started running. And it was on a vacation with my wife where I discovered the swimming pool. I'm 35 years old now. So it's only about 11, 12 years ago. And I said to my wife, who was a swimmer in high school, and I said, I want you to teach me how to swim at 35 years old. And it was during that vacation, she taught me how to swim one lap in a pool. And that lap, that's all I needed. I was out of breath. I think I had worked out more than my heart rate was sky high. And I thought, wow, now swimming, that's a sport. Well, I'll cut to the punchline. I signed up for my first triathlon. In the world of triathlon, there's many, many different kind of races, length of races that you can take part in. There's something called a sprint triathlon. There's the Olympic triathlon, like you see in the Olympics. And then there's the half Ironman distance, and then there's the Ironman distance. My first triathlon it's called a sprint triathlon. It's maybe a quarter or a half a mile swim, significant. It's a 12 or 13 mile bike ride, and then you run a 5K. And it was a significant event in my life. And something, again, continued to happen. My belief systems continued to change. I started believing in myself and listening to the words that I had in my brain and allowing them to come to fruition versus other people's words coming to fruition. This turned into an Ironman. Almost 10 and a half years ago, I signed up for the IronMan Triathlon. So now I'm living in Phoenix, Arizona. I meet Levi and his family and tons of friends. And Levi only really knows the current version of me. But I signed up for the Ironman in Arizona. If you're not familiar with those distances, this is crazy. It's a 2.4 mile swim. It's 112 miles on a bicycle. And then it's a full 26.2 mile run afterwards. And you do it all in a row as fast as you can, because if you don't cross the finish line within 17 hours, you don't get to call yourself an Ironman. So you have 17 hours to do it all. And in 2011, that little boy that was told he needed psychological evaluation from his rabbi, he was told he couldn't do athletic endeavors because he was fat, because he was heavy, because he was slow as molasses. I finished that Ironman triathlon in just over 13 hours. Now, I've since gone on to do 3 more. So I've now done 4 Ironman triathlons. My best time, I'm happy to tell you, is less than 12 hours, 11 hours and 52 minutes to complete all those things in a row. My herniated discs are still there, but they don't give me the pain that they used to. Those hurt knees are still there, but they don't give me the pain that they used to. And a lot of that is lifestyle modifications. It's things I've learned over the years. It's been a really long journey. But the biggest piece to my journey, I believe, is that I took control of my belief system. I took control. I knew what I was capable of doing, and I knew I could be that athlete. I knew I could accomplish things that most people deemed not acceptable, unrealistic. And when I speak with people, that's really my message. It's not about becoming an Ironman. It's not about running a 5K or a marathon. And yes, I've done 4 other marathons. If you're wondering, my time on a marathon time, Slow Stu did a marathon in 3 hours and 30 minutes. Can you imagine that little 9-year-old knowing he was going to do a 3-hour and 30-minute marathon one day? It's understanding that we all live with doubt. We all live with other people's definitions of us. And whether you've lived your life that way or you know someone else that does, it's one of my life's mission is to educate. It's to help people find that spark, whatever that is within themselves, and unleash the heck out of it. Because I'll tell you what, crossing a marathon line or crossing an Ironman triathlon line, there's no better feeling in the world than accomplishing big, audacious, hairy goals. And I'm fortunate enough to have done a lot of that in my lifetime. And gosh, there's plenty more coming. I know it because there was a moment where I got to dictate the why I can't and turn that into not just an I can isn't enough. It became an I will. I will do the things that I want to do in my lifetime. And it's that decision from I can to I will. I hear a lot of people use that. I turn an I can't into an I can. And yes, you're right. You can do anything that you want to do, but will you or won't you? And it was a very conscious decision to turn all of my life's choices into things I will or won't do versus the things I can or can't do. Okay, this is way too much talking for me, and I would much prefer a dialogue out of this. I welcome your questions, your thoughts, and the conversation. Levi, how do we unmute everyone and maybe make this more interactive?
Yeah, so first of all, I already see that Betty or Stan want to say something, and I know that you're going to, of course, have the Philly questions because there's always an affiliation and feeling. But I always resonate with this message, and I actually like something you just mentioned about not from I can't to I can, but I can to I will, or can't to I will. And I'm sure that that's those for you. It was when you were younger. You're still young. For others, it might be when they're older. They're told they can't do things. And I think that resonates as well. But Betty, you wanted to ask something, or was it Stan who wanted to ask?
Stan always talks.
Stan.
I was in my 40s. I'm an architect. I'm in my 40s, and I had a weekend house in Woodstock. It started with 900 square feet with a 2-seater outhouse. And
which we still have.
The outhouse is still there. And in my 44, we decided that we were going to move upstate, and I could not find a living in architecture. I switched careers. I sold fancy food for a while, then sold promotional items for over 20 years, and dabbled in architecture on the side. And it was a decision that I made consciously, because we decided we wanted to have a different lifestyle than living and going through the pressure in New York. I also found out something interesting myself. So I was in business. I was putting pressure on myself, and I realized it wasn't the clients doing it to me. It was what I was doing to myself. And the other thing is I started at the age of 40. I got married at 40, and I bought an exercise bike. And I started, the first time I got on the bike, I couldn't do a mile. And I did a lot of walking. I always like walking. And I do about a half hour, 3 times a week. I was doing more times a week, but I was losing too much weight. I'm a skinny guy. So at the age of 87.
Stan, I can tell you're afraid to say you only did 3 miles when you're talking to Stu. I could tell.
So
How is your wife now?
That's kind of you to ask. So actually, today's a very big day in the Schulman household. My wife, if you saw her, you'd say, what a beautiful, healthy woman. She is phenomenal. The reason today is such a big day is the disease has progressed. And because of that, she gets, when you start out with MS, like any kind of autoimmune, you kind of start with the least invasive medicine, and then over time you fail, and then you move to the next, and then the next. And she's on a fairly aggressive treatment, and it requires an infusion. And so today, as I speak today and reference her in my speech, she's getting her infusion. And so today will be a rough day when she comes home, because the nature of the drug kind of depletes her system, if you will, of the cells that are attacking itself in her body. And so it's a rough day or two, but in about a week she'll be back to normal. And if you would meet her, she's beautiful and strong as ever.
Well, we wish her well.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Anyone else have any questions or wants to share a story of their, Dr. Cates. All right. Whoops, I muted you by mistake. Go for it. No, you muted yourself back by mistake. Elaine, re-unmute. I hit it by mistake.
Hi, Stu. It's Michael. What is your present weight?
My present weight. So I'll answer it in 2. My present weight, I'm a little more than 200 pounds.
But you didn't give your height. You have to give your height.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm 6 foot on the nose, and that's truth. I'm not 5'11" and something. I'm 6 foot. I promise you. My racing weight, my racing weight when I'm really in Ironman shape, you can't not lose weight. My racing weight's more about 185 to 190 pounds.
Amazing.
280 to 1. Wow. It's great. Any other questions, or someone wants to share something? Someone else. Bella.
Yeah,
Elaine,
I
you
wanna
also
tell
want-
something, that my son has MS, and he was taking shots, and then he stopped the shots on his own. He's thin, he's tall, so he went into bike. He has different kind of bikes, and he goes up in the mountains and rides his bikes. And I think that has helped him quite a bit with the exercise, because right now he's in remission a little bit. So he's off of medicine, and he's holding his own. And hopefully should happen to your wife. She should come around.
Thank you. That's really inspiring to hear. You know, one of the things I learned in my journey is the benefit of exercise.
Right.
You know, that not only the psychologic benefits, I think that's well studied, but it's the old saying, right? An object in motion tends to stay in motion, right?
Right.
And there's something to that. When I speak to people, the last thing I'm trying to do is convert people to become marathoners and Ironmanners. That is not my message. It's to do what your son is doing, Bella, right? It's to not allow the disease or not allow
Overtake you,
people,
right?
to dictate your life
Right.
for you.
Right.
And so what you're describing in your son, and by the way, please send my regards. I wish him well. Is really inspiring, because those are the lessons I was observing and that I just applied. I just applied lessons, and that's really the message here: is do what the heck you want to do with your life and do it.
Right. Right. I don't know you, but I am so proud of you, and I loved your story. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Elaine, you wanted to ask something?
No, I was just going to say something about defeat. I always wanted to learn French, and in the 9th grade, I signed up for a semester. After 6 weeks, I was so confused and I quit. I said, I can't do this. And then my parents wanted me to go to college, and I said, no, I can't go to college. I don't know how to study and whatnot. At 44, my husband was kind enough to send me to France after having 6 months of French lessons, and I conquered it. It took a long time, but I'm fluent, and it's like you said, don't give up.
What was, Elaine, what was I think this is important for people to understand. So what was the factor? What was the trigger that made you re-engage in that at that older age?
Well, part of it was that my husband was born and raised in Montreal, and he spoke French. Yeah. And we started to travel a little bit. Actually, we went to Israel, but I kept hearing the language and I kept saying, I've got to do it. And then we had a foreign exchange student come from Paris, and he and my husband spoke every day he was only here for a month. And I just said, I have got to do it. I've raised my kids. The third one is on her way to college, and I've got to do something for myself. And that was it. And now, once I've conquered that, I can do anything.
It unleashes everything else, doesn't it?
It does. Absolutely. So I enjoyed your talk. It made me think again. And there are a few other things I want to do.
That's what I want to know, Elaine. What class are you taking next? I like that.
I don't know.
Hebrew.
Yeah, right.
Hebrew. Oh,
no, actually, I think about Yiddish. I would like to learn that because my parents spoke it all the time, especially when they didn't want us to know what was going on. And of course, my grandparents barely spoke English. They spoke Yiddish all the time. So I keep thinking, maybe I should start that. But you know what? Something will pop in my mind as soon as we move.
All right, Bella, you might have to start teaching Yiddish.
There you go.
Bella likes Yiddish. Did anyone else want
to tell you something in Yiddish, and then I'll tell you in English what it means. My mother should rest in peace. The will to do something that you want to do, even if you don't think you could do it, she would say, the veller is besser from the kenner. The one that wants to do something and learn to do it is better than the one that thinks he knows how to do it, because your drive is there. And I have been driven to do a lot of things in my life, and I have been very successful. So just work at it and do what you want to do.
Bella, what you just said just means so much. I'm gonna view this discussion later, and I'm gonna take those words down, and if it's okay, I'd like to share that in other at work. And it means so much. It truly is a decision, right?
Right.
It's not. We all know what we kind of have to do. We all know what we should do. But my view is kick the should out of the equation, right? Get the should out of it. We all know. Just do it. One of the most common questions I get is, well, Stu, I'm busy and I don't have time. I want to train for a marathon. I want to train for an Ironman, but I don't have the time.
Yes,
well, neither do I have the time, right?
You find the time.
You find the time. And to answer invariably I get asked, so how do you do it? And the answer is, sometimes I run a half marathon, 13.1 miles before my 8 a.m. conference calls. That's just how that has to work. Do I like waking up at 3 a.m? No. But if I'm going to become an Ironman or a marathoner and I have to log those miles, no one wants to hear my excuses. It's time I have to decide if I'm going to do this. It will require I go to bed earlier, or I miss out on one more glass of wine, or I just need to frankly wake up earlier. And we all know what we should do. Kick the should out of it and do it.
I like that line. We need to make a t-shirt for that.
Yeah.
Kick the should out of it.
Okay, we have to tell you this story. Our older son lives in New York, and he frequents this dive bar. It's like his joke. And in the dive bar, this friend of his says, you know, I have the entrance fee for the New York City Marathon, which you know is okay. He says, but I really haven't had a chance to train. So you have to pay for this. This is not cheap. So he says, I think I'm going to give it up. So our son Michael says, I'll buy it from you. I think he bought it. Anyway, so he tells us, I'm going to run the marathon.
He had run one before.
He had won one before in Hartford, Connecticut. So in the New York Times, they list every single person who finishes the marathon. Every person. And we're looking and we can't find his name. Now we obviously know his name. We call him up and go, you ran the marathon? How come you're not in the New York Times? He says, it wasn't my name. It was under the other guy's name, who happens to be the same age, so it looked like the same, So I said, we're going to call you Michael Klein now forever?
That's it.
And we have a picture of him with his medal, on the subway.
Oh, that's a great story. I love
Michael Klein. It's not
The
your
other
son.
story I wanted to mention is,
Stan, one sec. I want to get a couple people in, but we're coming back to you. All right. Izzy,
Sure.
you wanted to say something?
is he?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention to the group who are going to hopefully view the next movie that I'm highlighting, Stu. It's a movie called Nicky's Family. And he lived by one motto, and it goes, if something is not impossible, then there must be a way to do it.
I love
so
it.
watch the movie. It's just a great motto.
Shameless
Thank you, Izzy.
plug.
Yeah.
Shameless plug. I like that. February 16th, by the way, 11 o'clock in the morning will be that movie discussion review. Helen, did you have a question or wanted to say something? I wasn't sure if I saw you put your hand up for a second. I'm not sure. All right, Stan, go back to you. Helen. Oh, Judy.
I just wanted to mention a friend's mother-in-law got married when she was in her freshman year of college. And when her youngest daughter went back to college, she went back to college and they graduated together.
I heard of that.
Oh, nice. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Helen, go for it. I think I'm saying the correct name. I see it on the bottom of your screen. Helen Hughes.
Yes, that's me.
Oh, perfect. Did you want to say something?
Well, I wanted to talk to the Woodstock people for a moment.
Oh, so hold
All right,
on.
we'll
Let's
do it
wait.
later. We'll do it.
Give me
We'll
a
hang
minute.
up.
Both
We'll
of you
hang
don't
up.
hang up after this.
You're talking all at the same time. What?
I said, well, we'll do that in a minute. Keep your
Okay, fine. But
Judy,
that was
go
it.
for it.
I was
Judy
very
wants-
impressed, by the way, very impressed with you.
I have always found somebody saying no to be a fantastic motivator, as you have as well. But it does take a certain person, because I think a lot of people, if they heard that repeatedly, it would really sink them.
I agree. And I think we, not to take this too philosophical, but maybe let's just do that, Judy, right? I think what you say is very true. We spend a lot of time, we don't realize the power of our words, right? And we all go back to our generations. The kids of today are raised very differently than they were in my generation and to many of your generations.
But also, you've done what you've done, and it's phenomenal. But you've also been able to do it because you had a body that was built for it. Most people could never do that.
Wait, Judy, I told somebody that I could do a marathon without training. You're telling me I can't?
You can do it. You can do it. I used to jog. I still have a bad knee.
I actually, one day I'm going to do it just to prove my friend wrong. Not Stu.
I
do you know
think you could do it.
But you know what's incredible is, so what I was going to say is our words have meaning to people. And then I learn, and then I jump into these things, right? So now I do these marathons and I do the Ironman, and guess who I'm racing with? I'm racing with people that by all definition should not be doing what I'm doing, right? Jeff Glassbrenner is a name. You shouldn't know him other than just the fact that I know him now. But Jeff Glassbrenner became a friend. He's a gentleman from Arkansas who lost a leg in a farming accident at the age of 6 or 7. And not only is he a gold medalist in the Special Olympics, but he's I think a 10-time Ironman. And he does it with one leg. I know other people in their 70s and 80s that are still racing in Ironman. I know people with extreme disabilities. My point being is that we ultimately get to define what we do. And it's not about the time. I don't care if it takes you all day. If you decide that it's not impossible, back to, I think that was Izzy that said that before. If it's not impossible, then it's possible. And it's really cool to observe people do that. And there are a lot more special people doing these things, much more unique than I. And that's what I think is so cool. It's so inspiring.
Well, I know that Judy, just on that point, there was a person that, Stu, I don't know if you remember, I don't think you sat with us. We had him for Shabbat dinner, but he was blind.
Yes, I sat with you.
You did,
yes.
right? Yeah. We had this guy who came to talk, and he was a blind lawyer. I don't want to say a blind lawyer. He was a lawyer who was blind. And he was also an Ironman. I mean, not just a marathon. He did it all. And obviously his is unique. He was explaining to us there's someone who leads you the entire way, so it's always in a tandem. But he had been hit by a car in Central Park when he was running once. I mean, phenomenal story. So I know what Judy is saying. Like, you know, some people just can't do it. But there's a Jewish teaching. I wonder if you've heard this, Judy, or maybe someone else. And they teach this, like growing up in the Chabad world, there are 12 verses that you teach children that they should know. And one of them is this verse, or I should say teaching by the sages. It is, a person who says, I tried, but I didn't succeed, don't believe. If he says, I succeeded, but I didn't try, don't believe him. If he says, I tried and I succeeded, believe him. So I don't know, obviously, if everyone is inspired to run a marathon, but in that sense, if someone says they want to, the idea is that they can accomplish it. That's the idea.
Levi, can I tell, it's a very special moment between you and I, maybe more special to me than you, but can I tell the story about I believe it was the last one you saw me, the Ironman Arizona. Can I tell
Sure.
May I? Okay. So you all have a relationship with Rabbi Levi. He's not just my rabbi, but he's my dear, dear friend. And so as any dear friend would do, you come out and you support your friends. And so I think, as you said about an hour ago, Levi, you've been there once or at least twice out of my 4. The last time I raced in Arizona, Ironman Arizona, you know, there are moments in this race where seeing your friends, it's like wind in your sails. It's more than you can imagine. It's also quite common that people are handing out salty foods, pretzels, potato chips, because your body, you're sweating so much, you eat foods with lots of salt to replace the sodium that you're losing. Well, there was a bacon stand. Like someone was literally just handing out bacon, salty protein to take in. And as I'm running around, there's this, I think it was a gentleman, but dressed in a bacon uniform. And as I turn the corner and he's kind of advertising, hey, I have bacon, who wants bacon? Don't I notice not only my rabbi, but my friend posing for pictures with the bacon man. And it's one of my fondest memories because in those times of deep pain and anguish during a race, there's my rabbi taking pictures with the bacon man. It was one of my fondest fun memories. You have anything to say, Levi?
No, I love that. I actually have a picture of that somewhere. I'm going to try to find it and post it afterwards so you guys can see it. No, I think I did go both times, and we took our kids.
Yes,
it is quite an experience to watch people and cheer them on. And there are a lot of people there that are there handing water bottles and water cups, actually is more like it, and snacks. Yeah, it's quite an experience. And of course, when you're watching it and not schwitzing, as they say in Yiddish, it's much easier to be there.
Yeah,
and cheer people on. But it is very inspiring. I think that I did take up running for 2 weeks because of that. I'll be honest. I was doing it at night in the heat, wrong time to take up running. But I always think about it. I think I should take up running. It's gonna be one of my things.
Yeah.
And I don't give excuses, Judy. I just haven't done it yet.
I just saw a question.
Yes.
What years did I do? So I did 2011 Ironman, 2013, 2014. And then my last one was 2019 in Canada. It's regarded as one of the hardest Ironman races to do. In between, you might say, well, what happened between 14 and 19? In that time, I cracked my sacrum, my back, in a couple places. And I was training for Ironman Wisconsin, and I cracked my back. These injuries are real, and it took me a long time to recover. So my last one was 2019.
And someone else
Davey,
asked,
yeah,
well,
Davey.
one sec, Izzy. One of the questions that came up was, are you a life coach now?
Well, it's interesting. No, I'm not, but I love talking with people about this and helping people. If you're wondering, so Stu, what are you doing with your career now? As I told you, I'm from the bar business to the pharmaceutical business. That pharmaceutical business gave me an opportunity to help people in a different way. It became less about more pills for more people, and how do we help people match their lifestyle and connect them to medical issues. So for example, I might be someone with back pain, and yes, those are real things, but how do I match my lifestyle to live happily within that back pain world? And so that's what I do now. Is I'm a leader in that company. It's called Mobe, M-O-B-E. And that company helps people match lifestyle to their medical issues. So everyone from back pain to diabetes to whatever you're dealing with, there's a lifestyle component, and it's how you address your lifestyle and match that to your real medical issues that we can have a very measurable impact. And that's what I do now for a living. So not a life coach, but in that world.
All right, Izzy wanted to add something, and then
I'm really, Davey, I'm really impressed that you say you want to take up running. So I'm going to give you a real good exercise to start with. In the morning,
I'm out golf. I have golf on the list first.
No. We're done running golf. But in the morning, when you get up, before you start davening, you run around the block 3 times, and then you kick it under the bed, and then you can start your day. That's the good running. Just kick it under the bed.
Right.
Okay, so question, did you have a training partner when you first started seriously training? That was a question from Kay.
Kay, great question. No, I did not. What I quickly found was a community of people that were wired like me. And so I didn't have a one-to-one relationship with one other person who just did this with me. But what is interesting is, like in anything, you find like-minded people. Positive breeds positive, just like negative breeds negative, right? Well, Ironmans breed other Ironmen. It's amazing how that works, right? Your energy does attract similar energies. And so I have connected with many like-minded people who have become training partners, not necessarily every single workout, but it is amazing. When I moved to Arizona, I surrounded myself with people that thought like me, and allowed me to release that Ironman energy in me. And the same thing when I moved to Minnesota, the same thing. So I have people that I can count on, but not a direct kind of one person that I work with.
I'm gonna share that picture, by the way. I do have it. I have it on Facebook. So I'm gonna share my screen for a second so you guys can all see what he's talking about. This is November 16, 2014. That is Stu.
That's me.
This is the picture he's referring to.
There it is.
It's a lot of bacon on that plate.
Wow.
But none of it was eaten by me. I want to just put that out there.
Ah!
But obviously, this is quite an important part of the marathon. There's a lot of people there that are just there to support. And that was actually the marathon part, I should say. That's the last part of the Ironman.
Yes.
So it's an amazing feat. And Judy, yes, not for everyone. Definitely, that's not in my cards that I'm going to try. At least you never know. But I do have one question, because you mentioned that really Danya's diagnosis was your, I'm going to say, kick. Was that what it was? That the way she defined herself, or didn't define herself by it?
Yeah, I think it, again, when I go back to my business, it was the first time I learned that I didn't have to abide by the rules, right? So I went into business and it was this learning, but it wasn't obvious to me at that point. Looking back, it became obvious. Danya's diagnosis was one that It wasn't even the diagnosis. It was observing what I was observing in that really horrible time. You know, they say, wait, you find out about someone's character during the hard times, right? And what I was observing from my wife was this toughness, this ability to dictate her, you know, how she was navigating this, and she was not going to be navigated. And it was that moment where I thought, whoa, I don't have any more excuses. If I want to be an athlete, if I want to go back to that 9-year-old boy, I listened way too much. It's my turn to navigate versus be navigated. And yes, that was kind of the moment.
Stu, if I wanted to reach you and ask you something personal, could I do it on your email or on the phone or what?
Yeah, please, Levy, will you have my information to share?
Yeah.
How it work?
Cell or email is fine. I'm not sure whose dog that is, but
Wait.
oh, Bella, it's yours.
Yeah.
Lori,
How can I reach you?
Bella, I'll share it with you. Right now we're streaming, so I don't want to
Okay.
share that on Facebook.
All right.
But I will share it with you. I'm going to mute your mic just so we don't get the dog, if you don't mind. Although we love dogs.
I just wanted to mention one
Wait,
thing.
hold on, Betty. Stan, 1 second, then I'm going to get to you.
Sorry.
Lori, I was already calling on Lori. Lori, you want to say something?
Yeah, Stu, can you elaborate on what you're doing now and how you do what you do?
Yeah, so I'm very much still in sales. I bring a product I'm really passionate about. So my role day to day is sales. I'm a vice president of client relationships and sales for my company. What we do is there are a lot of people that are, they're in the doctor's offices. The people that we work with are in the doctor's office every other week. They're in the pharmacy every single week, and they're having trouble staying healthy and, more importantly, happy. And so what we do is we pair them with guides. You might think of them as life coaches, but they're guides is what we call them. And they match lifestyle to the very real medical thing. So think of them as someone kind of like a life coach, right? So I have back pain. Here's what's hurting me. Here's why I'm going to the doctor. Here's why I'm in the pharmacy all the time. My guide is going to help me unlock some very important things. I probably already know it, like an encyclopedia. I know I need to eat better. I know I need to eat more fruits and vegetables or whatever, right? Whatever the thing is. But I'm going to marry the way my lifestyle interacts with my medical issues. So the way I interact with food, the way I move my body, the way I rest my body, my attitude, all of those things have very real effects on my medical issues. And that's the people that we work with. So they're not just all diabetes patients, or they're not just all back pain patients, but everyone is navigating some sort of healthcare universe. And our guides focus on lifestyle, eat, sleep, move, smiling, with those medical issues. And what we see are people feel not only healthier, but happier, which is really important.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, so one woman was in the doctor's office every single week. She wasn't sleeping well. She is, there's a whole laundry list. She wasn't sleeping well. She's overweight. She has diabetes. She has hypertension. The list goes on and on. Now, a year later, she's dropped 40 pounds. She's not going to the doctor as often. So she replaces that with anything else that's important to her. More time with family. She's able to play with her grandkids now, where she couldn't do because it was too painful to get on the floor. That's a very real example of someone. Their diabetes is now in check. Their A1C levels are good. But it wasn't because we gave them a certain medication. It wasn't because we told them to go to a specific doctor. We allowed those experts to do what they do. Go to the doctor. You keep taking your medications. We're going to focus on other things you can do to make sure your body is rested, to make sure that it's getting the right movement, etc. And the combination are a powerful combination. And that was just one of thousands of examples.
Okay, thank you for letting me know. That's great that you're doing that.
Yeah, it's fun.
It sounds perfect for you.
Thank you.
How do you get
Go
patients?
for it.
How do you get patients or clients?
That's a great question. We don't have a direct-to-consumer solution. So if any of you are thinking, I know the person you need to work with, it's not that easy in my world. I work with large health plans we call them payers, but Blues Cross Blue Shield of whatever, right? One of our clients, for example, is Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey. So if any of you know that, they are one of our clients. I work with large health plans and large employers. Think of Walmart, Target, big employers that want their populations, whether they're employees or just human beings, to feel happier and healthier. And so I work with those, and in that way, we bring our product to employees and health plans.
Thank you. Any last questions?
I just had one comment. My father, something that you didn't do. My father used to refer to some people who were too heavy for light work and too light for heavy work.
Right. That's right. I like that. Thank you for the chuckle.
That's I've never heard that one, but I can tell you that I will tell you my little story is my wife once saw my bar mitzvah picture and she thought it was my brother. I said, no, that was me. I was the chubby one. You got to work. I worked it off when I was a teenager. That was when I had my little moment. But no one's ever accused me of that. I knew the Husky section very well, those two.
I'll never forget walking in.
They still might have that in some of these stores, in the Jewish.
Yeah, only in the Jewish stores, lady.
Exactly.
Only in the Jewish stores.
16 Husky. That's like a suit size.
There you go.
But this was really, first of all, it's an amazing story, and it is very inspirational. I like that it's very tangible for us. It's not something just about you that's not relatable. It's so relatable. So thank you. And I think I'm young, but I think I can speak for everyone that regardless of the age, there are different things and challenges that you need that attitude instead of I can, but I will. So it's not changing it from I can't, but it's changing it from I can't to I will. So thank you.
Thanks for the time, everyone. Really, I consider it an honor that you've given me your time today. So thank you for doing that and allowing me the opportunity. And Levi, big hug. Big hug goes out to you. Thanks for having me today.
By the way, for those of you who don't know, he just drove cross country. They weren't getting on a flight. It's not worth the risk, as they say. So this was a drive. So he just got back to Minnesota yesterday.
Yeah, it was 25 hours of driving, and here I am back home in Minnesota. But we're healthy and happy over here.
Yeah.
Good luck to your wife.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Thank you again, Stu. And again, you're welcome to stay on and schmooze. I know Helen wants to catch Betty and Stan, though. We're going to make sure that happens.
Okay.
That's okay. I do have a call to get to. I'm going to disconnect. Thank you, everyone, for your time today.
Thank you.
Say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.